project, you're just going to need one of these tags. I got this 2-pack from the Dollar Tree, and I'm only going to just use one of these. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of this scrapbook paper. It's red, white, and plaid that I really liked. I got out of a paper pack from Hobby Lobby called Plaid Tidings, and it just has a bunch of plaid designs in there. Anyways, I found this one and I really liked it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this scrapbook paper and I'm going to glue it onto the tag. When the glue is dry, I'm just going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut off all the excess paper around the tag. Now I'm going to take one of these wooden hearts that you can get in this pack from the Dollar Tree, and we're just going to use some hot glue and we're going to glue that down onto the not quite center of the tag, but I'm just going to kind of have it offset from the tag, as you'll be able to see here. Once our wooden heart is glued on, I'm going to take some of these letter tiles. Again, you can get these from the Dollar Tree. And I'm going to pick out the words, or I'm going to pick out the letters that spell the word love. And we're just going to glue those onto the bottom of the tag. Now that our letters are all glued on to our tag, I'm going to take some jute twine and I'm going to tie a knot in the end of it, and we're going to thread some beads onto this. Now the beads that I'm using today, I'm using some wooden beads that I got from Amazon, which I'll put that link in the description box below. And I'm also using some red beads that I got off of a garland that I purchased from the Dollar Tree. And we're only going to need 3 of each. So we're going to need 3 of these pretty red ones, and then you're going to need 3 wood ones. And I'm just going to alternate those onto the jute twine so that we have red and then plain wood. And you may need to use a little bit of hot glue just to keep your jute twine from fraying. That will make it go through the beads a lot easier. Or you can also just use a needle. But once I have the hot glue on there, these beads go on a heck of a lot easier. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this little weeder tool. It's a Cricut weeder tool. And I'm just going to poke a hole through this tag. I found this was the best thing to use to do this. And once I have that hole poked through, I'm going to run the jute twine with the beads on it through that hole. Now that I have that jute twine through the hole, I'm just going to turn it around on its back and I'm going to tie a knot in it. And I needed to use a double knot so this doesn't slip through the hole and the beads don't come off. To keep the beads from moving around or sliding around, I decided to use a little bead of hot glue underneath each bead. And I just glued the beads down to the tag. Using some ribbon that I have in my stash, I'm just going to make a bow for the top of the heart to kind of hide that hole. And I'm just using different kinds. I'm just going to make a messy bow. So I'm using some black, and then I'm using some of this red and white checkered that I really like. I thought it was really cute. I actually got this for Christmas, but shoot, it's red and white and it goes great with this Valentine's Day project. So yeah. And I'm just going to make a messy bow. Once I have the bow made, I'm just going to take my lighter and I'm going to burn off all the nasties, all the glue webs, all the jute twine, hangy threads, all the threads off the ribbon. And yeah, that makes this project complete. Let me know what you guys think of it by giving me a big thumbs up, and leave me a comment in the comment section down below and let me know if you would do anything different. The second project, we're going to use 2 of these hearts that you can get off of this like wall decor piece from the Dollar Tree. And I just took those off, and the reason why I'm using 2 is this is going to give me a thicker heart, which is what I'm wanting. And I'm just going to apply some hot glue to the heart, and we're going to glue both of these hearts together. Using some Waverly white chalk paint, I'm going to give this heart 2 coats, front and back. Now you don't have to do the back if you don't want to. Actually, I'm just going to do the front. I'll take that back. I'm not going to paint the front and back. I'm just going to paint the side that we're going to be using. And then the glitter side of the heart, I'm just going to use some brown craft paper to cover that up. When our white paint is dry, I'm going to take some of this cardinal red and I'm just going to go around the edges of the heart. Avoid getting it on the heart because I don't want any red on the actual heart itself. I'm just going to outline the heart in the red. So this is going to be tedious and it's going to take you some time, but it looks really pretty instead of using just plain brown. So I went to my Cricut and I typed out Be Mine. I just used a font that I'll flash here on the screen. I don't remember the name of it right offhand. And then I just printed it out on some black vinyl and I'm just going to arrange it on my heart how it fits and how I want it, and we're just going to transfer it onto the heart. Now you're going to need 2 wood cubes or some tower tumbling blocks, and I'm just going to glue those to the back of the heart, and this is going to help it stand up on my tier tray. And I found that 2 of them works best for the way I want to lay the heart. And again, if you have some like tower tumbling blocks, you might be able to just use one of those and it'd be easier. But at the time I only had 2 of these wooden cubes, so this is what I had to use. Now I found these bee stickers at Hobby Lobby and I think these are so cute. So I'm just going to grab one of these and I'm going to attach it to the heart next to the word bee. And this looks so adorable, don't you think? What can I say? I'm a sucker for bees. I thought this just looked so cute. Now I'm going to take this Sharpie marker and I'm going to draw some lines to make it look like the bee's like flying away or whatever from the inn. And I just thought this looks so adorable and just added a little more cuteness to For the third project, I'm going to use one of these hearts out of that pack of hearts that we used on our first project. And I'm going to take this multi-surface baby pink paint from Folk Art. And I'm going to carefully paint around the edges of the heart. I don't want to paint all the little hearts inside because we're going to use a different color for those. So I'm just going to paint the edge of the heart, and I ended up giving it 2 coats. And this is very tedious and you're going to need to take your time so you don't get onto the hearts. If you do, it's no big deal because we're going to paint the hearts red, so it's going to cover up that pink anyway. But it just saves some time by doing it very slowly. It saves you some effort. When our pink paint is dry, we're going to take this cardinal red, and it's a matte finish, and we're going to paint the hearts on the inside. And again, now you want to do this slowly so that you don't have to redo your pink paint or so that you don't mix paints or whatever. And yeah, just want to paint all of these hearts red. Again, it's very tedious and time consuming, but if you take your time, it turns out really pretty. When our red paint is dry, this is what we should have, the completed look. I think it turned out so cute. Now I'm just going to take this pot that I got from the Dollar Tree. I think a succulent came in it. And I'm also taking some of these florals that I also purchased from the Dollar Tree. And I'm just going to put the florals into this little flower pot. The piece of floral foam that I had was a little too small for this, but you don't need anything too big. So I had to end up gluing it down into the flower pot to keep my flowers from moving around. And once I had that glued down, I just put my flowers into the foam and I added some rocks that came in a little bag, and I just filled it up with the rocks so that it would add some weight to this. Again, it's going to be on a tier tray, but I still didn't want it moving around, and I wanted to add some rocks to it to kind of cover up that floral foam anyway. I'm going to take this dowel rod that I had in my stash, and it's just the perfect height that I need. I think it ended up being like 10 inches tall. Not really, I don't even think it was that. But anyway, I'm just going to hot glue this onto the back of the heart, and I'm going to put it in the middle of the flowers down into the foam. As an afterthought, I decided that the front of the flower pot needed something, so I just got into my stash of felt hearts and I took out a red felt heart and I put it on the front of the flower pot. Then, out of jute twine, I made me a small bow to disguise the hole in the heart, and I hot glued it on top of that hole. So this project, this is my lovebirds project, and you're just going to need 2 of these wooden birds that I actually got off of a garland that you can get right now in the spring collection from the Dollar Tree. So I just took 2 of them off the garland, and I'm just going to give them some paint. I'm not going to really concern myself about filling the holes. That doesn't bother me. If it bothers you, then by all means fill it in, but it's not bothering me. So I'm just going to use this cardinal red paint, and I'm going to give them both 2 coats of paint, and I'm going to avoid painting the wing area. Once the red paint is dry, I'm going to take some of this baby pink paint, and this is what I'm going to paint the wings in. And once I have the wings painted in and all the paint's dry, I'm going to take a black Sharpie marker, and I'm going to color in the beak and outline the eyes and the wings. And since they're lovebirds, I decided to write out me and my husband's name. My husband's name on one bird and my name on the other bird, because they're lovebirds. Now I'm going to take 2 of these mini cubes that you can get a pack from a Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to hot glue those on the back of my bird so that they'll stand up on my tier tray. For this project, you're going to need 3 of these chalkboard tags, and then you're going to need some wooden beads. I'm using 3 red wooden beads. We'll start out by removing the strings off these tags because we're not going to need these, because what we're making is a garland, so I'm going to run my own jute twine through the beads and through the tags. So I went on my Cricut, and I just used a font that I had already downloaded onto my computer, and I printed out this word kisses, and I'm going to transfer it onto my tag. If you don't have a Cricut, you can use stickers, or you can even write this out using chalk, because these are chalkboard tags, but my handwriting sucks, so I decided to use my Cricut. And on the other 2 chalkboard tags, I used the letters XOXO, and then on the other one, I used the word hugs. Now I'm just taking some jute twine, and I'm applying a little bit of hot glue to the end so that I'll be able to run this through the tags and the beads easier. And I'm just going to start putting this garland together by starting out with the word hugs, and then I'm going to put on a red bead. And I'm going to get into this box of beads that I purchased off of Amazon, which I'll put the link to these in the description box below. So if you're interested in purchasing these, just click on the link. And then I'm going to put a plain wood bead on this as well. So this is how I'm going to alternate my beads and my tags, as you'll be able to see here. I've also decided to add some of these hearts that I got out of this little pack of mini ornaments from the Dollar Tree. And I'm just going to glue those on in between my beads and tags. Before I glued on the hearts, I decided that I wanted to glue down these tags because I noticed that when I tried to hang up the garland, the tags wanted to turn sideways, and I want them all facing out so that you'll be able to see them on the tier tray. So I just used a little dab of hot glue, and I glued the tags down to the jute twine. That way they don't move sideways, and they're always staying front, like to the front, I guess. Anyways, you can see what I'm doing here. Now I'm just going to take those wooden hearts, and I'm going to glue them in between each wooden bead onto the jute twine, and this way this helps the heart stay in place. And I did try poking a hole through them, but that was just too much trouble because I don't have a crocodile tool or anything, so I was trying to use a hole punch. That didn't work, so I'm just gluing them down onto the jute twine. If you have some that have holes in them, they would probably work better, or if you can find a way to poke a hole in these so that they'll actually thread through the jute twine, that might be best. But this also works. That way it keeps the hearts from turning sideways like the tags were doing. Once I have that all glued on and everything, I'm just going to tie a knot on each end of the jute twine to keep everything from falling apart. This project, you're going to need one of these wooden planks and one of these wooden hearts. And I'm also using this metal key that I got out of a pack from Hobby Lobby. And we're going to start out by painting one of the wooden planks in the baby pink paint. And we're going to paint the wooden heart in the cardinal red paint. When the paint is dry, we're going to take our wooden heart and we're just going to glue it to the center of the plank. Now we're going to glue our key down to our heart, and I'm going to place it to where it's covering up that hole in the heart so that you don't see it. The key still wasn't big enough to hide the hole in the heart, so what I did is I applied some hot glue and made one of my jute twine bows and just covered up that hole with the jute twine bow. Next, I got into my stash of buttons and I picked out 4 pink ones that I really liked, and I just glued those down into the 4 corners of the plank. And once I had those glued down, then I took a tower tumbling block and I glued it onto the back so that it will stand up on my tier tray. This project is super easy, and I debated on whether or not I wanted to keep it in the video, but I decided to go ahead and keep it in there and show you guys what I did. I wanted to make some stick people. So what I did is I took 4 of these tower tumbling blocks and I glued 2 of them together so that I have a set of 2. And then once I had these glued together, I decided to paint each one a different color. So I painted one in the baby pink that I've been using throughout the video, and I painted the other one in some white Waverly chalk paint. Now I'm going to take 2 of these beads and I'm going to paint them in the same white that I painted that one set of tower tumbling blocks. And once I have that painted, I'm just going to glue those on top of the tower tumbling blocks, one on each set. Here's when I realized that I should have probably glued these together opposite heights before I glued the beads on. That way I wouldn't have that small gap between those. But you can also, if you wanted to still have one taller than the other, you could just add one of those wooden cubes to the bottom of these and they would still set up correctly onto your tier tray. But I decided to have them both equal so that basically you have equal partners anyways. So to put these together, I just used some jute twine and I wrapped it around this real tight. And then I'm just going to glue the jute twine down onto the back. And you want to do this tightly so that they'll stand upright. And I have a trick to get these to stand because they're still not going to stand on a tier tray like I wanted them to. So what I ended up doing is on the bottom of these, I used some foam sticky tape, double-sided, and I put it on the bottom, and then I just actually taped it to my tier tray. 1, it brings them up a little higher so that you can see them better, and 2, it keeps them from falling over all the time. Once I was done wrapping the jute twine around these, I got into my stash of felt hearts and I picked out the heart I like and I just glued it to the front and attached the foam tape that I was talking about to the bottom and stuck it to my tier tray. This DIY is really quick and easy to make. I got this cutting board from the Target dollar spot, and I ended up giving it 2 coats of the cardinal red paint that I've been using throughout the video, and I'm just going to paint the front and sides of this. I'm not going to worry about painting the back unless you want to. Now I'm going to spell out the word love with these wooden letters, and I'm also going to paint each one of these letters in the baby pink that I've been using. When everything is dry, I'm going to start gluing down my letters, and I'm just going to glue them down in a block style because of course they won't fit all the way, the whole word won't fit across the cutting board. So I'm going to put my L and O on top and then VE underneath that. So using these Valentine window clings, I'm just going to peel off one of these hearts, and I'm going to use some Mod Podge and glue those down onto my cutting board. And to finish off this project, I'm just going to use some of this ribbon that I got from the Dollar Tree and make me a little bow for the top. This is another quick and easy DIY. All you're going to need is one of these wooden planks and this chalkboard heart. Actually, this chalkboard heart you can get all year round at the Dollar Tree, so you should be able to find these pretty easily. What I'm going to do is I'm going to paint the wooden plank in the cardinal red, and I only gave it 1 coat because this is going to kind of look a little more aged. So I'm going to end up sanding all of that down a little bit, but in the meanwhile, I'm going to go ahead and take some caulking, and I'm going to caulk this hole in the heart just because it's super huge and I don't want it there. And what I'm first going to start out doing is taking some painter's tape, which I learned this technique off of Kelly Barlow's creations. I don't know if you've ever watched Kelly Barlow, but I really love watching her DIYs. But anyway, so I applied some painter's tape to the back of this heart, and then I started filling it in with the caulking. And what this painter's tape does is it keeps the caulking from going all the way through. It keeps it where it's supposed to be until it dries. So once I put caulking on that, and once it dried, I ended up sanding this heart down so that it looked a little roughed up. Leaving the painter's tape on the back, I'm going to go ahead and hot glue this heart down to the wooden plank. And it's not going to hurt leaving the painter's tape on there. This is just going to help keep that caulk from drying out and falling out. If that makes sense. I hope it does. I decided after looking at the stitching on the heart that my wooden plank needed some stitching, so I just took my black Sharpie marker and I started stitching around the plank. I wanted to write the number 14 in the middle of this heart, but chalk wasn't working, so I decided to use this white paint marker, and I just wrote in the number 14. Again, my handwriting kind of sucks, so I didn't really like how this turned out. But if you don't have very good handwriting, you can always use a Cricut or paint some numbers in white, or, you know, maybe you are good at handwriting. I'm just not very good, so don't make fun of my handwriting. To finish off this project, I glued down 4 glittery hearts to each corner of this wooden plank, and then I added a tower tumbling block on the back so that it'll stand on my tier tray. For this DIY, I'm using this set of 3 cubes. They were out last summer, I think, at the Dollar Tree. I haven't seen them since. But if you're lucky enough to get some, you can use these. If not, you can use like the foam dice or actually just regular cubes. And what I did is I ended up giving each one of these a different color paint. I used red, white, and pink for these. This wooden heart I got out of that pack of little ornaments that I showed you earlier that I've been using throughout the video. And I'm just going to take some of this Waverly ink and I'm just going to dab it onto the heart because I want the heart to have like a rough look to it. And this is the easiest way to get that texture. I got out my stencils for this project, but I kind of wish I didn't because it didn't turn out very well. Um, the reason why I used stencils for this is because I actually didn't have any stickers. And like I said, my handwriting was bad, so I thought this would turn out really cool, but it ended up being bigger pain in the butt than, what it was worth. So if you have stickers or Cricut or something, I would definitely use that instead of trying this project with the stencils the way I did. But anyways, I stenciled I on the pink, and then I used the heart to be my love. And then I stenciled on the U onto the red so that when I stacked my blocks, it said I heart you. After I have the I and the U stenciled onto my cubes, I'm going to take my black heart and I'm going to glue it down onto the white cube. I'm just going to use some hot glue to stack these cubes together so that they don't fall over and they'll stay upright on my tier tray. Okay guys, for this project you're going to need one of these square cubes, and I'm using a bunch of these felt hearts because what I'm going to do is I'm going to make like a felt heart balloon bouquet. Okay, so these are all the different hearts that I'm using, and this can go a variety of ways. I mean, you're going to have to do this to your liking. This is just how I put the hearts together and how I liked them. But before we get to that, we need to drill a small hole into our wooden cube, and I'm just using my Dremel to do that. Now I'm just going to take some of this black paint and I'm going to give the cube 2 coats of this black paint, and I'm not going to worry about painting the bottom because you're not going to be able to see it and it's going to be on my tier tray. I'm going to take some of this wired jute twine and I'm going to cut me off a piece, and this is going to be the stem of our heart bouquet, and it's probably just about 6-inch piece if that. I ended up having to trim this down a little more because I thought it stood up too high. So maybe cut you about a 4-inch piece of this if you're going to do this project. I'm not even going to try to explain how I did this or how I came up with this. I'm just going to let you guys watch the process because it will be really hard for me to try to explain this. But it'll be easier for you to watch. And I'm going to start out by just gluing one heart down to the middle of this wired jute twine. And then I'm just going to start adding hearts to make me a little like balloon heart bouquet. What I'm doing here is I'm just adding some of the smaller hearts. I decided to do this at the last second. But so I lifted up this larger heart and I'm just going to glue the smaller hearts down into the middle of the larger hearts, and I thought it added a little more dimension to this piece. Now, I'm not going to lie, this project took me some time to do because it was hard for me to figure out how I liked the hearts laid out and everything. So that's why I didn't show you the entire process, because this is just going to depend on what you like and what. So what I decided to do is I'm going to cut off about 3 or 4 more of these wired jute twine stems, because this is a heart balloon bouquet. Okay, it's supposed to look like balloons. So balloons have strings coming off the ends, right? So I decided to cut me off a couple more pieces of this wire, and I'm going to tie it together like a balloon bouquet, right? Like strings of balloons. Anyways, you'll see what I'm doing. Now I'm just going to take all those strings and I'm going to glue those to the back of this heart balloon bouquet. So here I'm just taking some jute twine and I'm going to tie all of these stems together, and then I'm going to make me a pretty little jute twine bow. I realized that some of these are too long for my cube and they won't set in the hole of my cube right. So what I did is I just trimmed some of it down because it was too tall for me anyways for my tier tray. So like I said, this is where you'll probably only need about 3 or 4 inches of this, if that. And you want the middle stem or the middle wired jute twine to be just a little longer, because that's the one you're going to glue down into the hole, and you're going to have the other ones just kind of coming out from that to make it look like the bouquet is just kind of flying away from the cube. Then I'm just going to take my lighter and burn off all those little hairs off that jute twine. This project I'm using 4 of these wooden hearts. They're 2 different designs. Again, you can get these from the Dollar Tree. And I'm going to start out by painting the 2 wooden hearts with the one big heart in the middle with cardinal red. And I'm going to paint these 2 hearts with the baby pink. Using the same pack of mini wooden ornaments that we've been using throughout the video, I'm going to get out 2 of these butterflies and 2 of the birds. And I'm going to paint 2 of the butterflies in the pink and 2 of the birds in the cardinal red. I'm going to hot glue the butterflies onto the red hearts and the birds onto the pink hearts. I'm going to glue them right there where that hole is so that it covers up the holes. Now I'm going to use some of that scrapbook paper that we used on the very first project in this video, and I'm just going to glue these down onto the scrapbook paper and cut them out. This is what they look like once the scrapbook paper is glued on, and now I'm just going to sand down some of this paint and just kind of rough all these hearts up a little bit. And once I have those roughed up, I'm going to line them up in a row, and this is how I'm going to glue them together. Once all my hearts are glued together, I'm going to take this jumbo craft stick and I'm just going to glue it to the back, and it's just going to reinforce these hearts so that I don't have to worry about them coming apart. To get these to set right on my tier tray, I ended up taking another jumbo craft stick and I glued these hearts down to that. But to reinforce it, because I noticed that I needed a little more to keep these glued down to this craft stick, I ended up taking 2 of those small cubes and I just glued those onto the back of these hearts, which kept them upright, and I was able to set it on my tier tray without having to worry about it tipping over. Hey guys, that's all I have for you today. I just want to say thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give me a big thumbs up. That really does help YouTube notice my channel a little more. And leave me a comment in the comment section down below and let me know what your favorite project was. And yeah, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.